Just figuring this out. It's first time going live on Patreon. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Figured it out. Yeah, it works. Cool. All right then. Thank you all for helping me out on Patreon. It is very, very much appreciated. I hope you guys are going through an easier time nowadays. In the beginning of the releasing of these videos, a lot of people were having breakdowns and freaking out because it was really messing them up. You know, you're bringing up a bunch of emotional energy, and it can be traumatizing. I know myself, I was having like 4 to 5 breakdowns per day. Made it very hard to do YouTube and to do anything else in my life. And so, you know, I had a few people contact me because they're freaking out a little bit. They too had gotten to that point within the process where they're bringing up so much stuff that it was becoming very overwhelming on their physical body. Because when you start purging the emotions out of the emotional body, the physical body is going to react to that. I once knew a person whose neck would break out in hives when we went through a guided meditation. I say hives, it's more like a rash whenever we went through a guided meditation. And, you know, myself and others that I have known, when we get anxious, we need to go to the bathroom a lot, you know? And so women, when women are scared, it's gonna be hard for me to speak because I've got like a nasally congested nose, but I'll try my best. When women get scared, mainly it's women, they need to urinate a lot, need to go to the bathroom. And so, you know, whenever you feel heartbreak, your chest actually hurts and you find it hard to breathe. And so when you're bringing up all of these emotions, your physical body is going to have some side effects, some worse than others. You know, I'm talking like throat pain, back pain. Your legs will just buckle. You know, they won't move. It's going to slow you down a little bit. I wanted to go through some things just to make sure that you guys know what to do if something like this comes up. First off, I want to just let you know that if it's getting too difficult, slow down. You know, in the beginning, you can go crazy deep. You can make yourself spiral. You can make yourself do all of these things. Eventually, you'll stop spiraling naturally. It'll just naturally happen because you're only spiraling because you're bringing up really, really complex emotions. The more you do the elemental practices, the less complex these emotions become, because the more aware you are of your internal state. The more healing gets done, usually in the bath. And so you'll just have less stuff that will come up. You just won't break down anymore, naturally. There is, however, a point within the practices where if you're feeling like you're breaking down too much, or you're feeling like it's getting too overwhelming, I would advise you to slow down. What this looks like is if you're in the bath, and usually I tell you to stay in the bath, even noticing you're panicking until it's gone. Well, you can take your feet out of the bath. Just putting your feet in whilst you're under has quite a big effect on your emotional state. And if you take them out, you'll notice you'll feel different. So just play with that. Usually, if you're freaking out, if you're panicking in the bath, then you can take your feet out, you feel a little better. You can lift your arm up like this and you feel a little better. You can take one leg out of the bath and you feel a little better. It's just getting away from that which is making you very uncomfortable and bringing all of this stuff up. And so, another thing to do is you can get out of the bath. If it's getting too uncomfortable, you can get out of the bath and you can do the body mudras that I mentioned. Now, body mudra, I'll go over it again. A body mudra is basically a position that you put yourself in, which will make you more open to feeling a series of emotions, a set series of emotions. My favorite one is to just put your head on the floor, crouching, and put your hands like this. If you're not the type of person to be quite willing, to be vulnerable in front of people, to be vulnerable in front of pretty much anyone, if you're quite stubborn and defensive, this will break you through that defensiveness, that pattern within your psyche. Because doing this is a vulnerable state. You can't see up, you can't see past your hands. Anyone could be there with the hammer or an axe. That's how I usually look at it. It feels very vulnerable. And so, if it gets too much, get out of the bath, get on the floor, go in this vulnerable state. And if you feel yourself getting angry or whatever's coming up, just sit through it and practice self-inquiry. Now, self-inquiry is literally you letting yourself get mad, letting yourself feel whatever you're getting into, and just don't move physically. Eventually, you'll exhaust the emotion, and it will start to change into a different form. If it's taking too long, then you ask the elements, okay? Make this very realistic for you. Breathe, feel the air around you. Act as if that air is an entity, consciousness, as if it's really intelligent, because it is. And in that state, stop asking yourself the questions, stop asking yourself, what should I do in this state? Stop asking yourself, hey, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I need to find a way to deal with this better, or I need to find a way to get out of this. Stop asking yourself these questions, because you're asking yourself, well, you're asking your ordinary awareness. You're asking what you are. And your ordinary awareness is on the same page as you, the part of you that's uncomfortable. Your ordinary awareness also wants you to stop doing these things, stop doing the practices. And so you ask the element, you ask the wind, you ask whatever you can feel around you, and you say, hey, should I be feeling this way? Then you wait. Don't try to figure it out by yourself. And the answers will just come. It's literally like my video, Fishing for Answers, on YouTube. Only you're not asking your subconscious mind, definitely not asking your ordinary awareness, which is you. You're asking the element itself, and then you wait. For this reason, it's very easy to do. And you'll find that the elements will just help you out. Now, if you're having a hard time kind of conceiving this notion, then I'd invite you to do this in the bath. It's perfect, especially when the temperature gets cool, not hot. Hot is kind of difficult. When the temperature gets cool, get yourself a big glass. I use a glass pitcher. You've seen it already. Like, not pitcher as in picture frame, but pitcher, like beer pitcher. Pitcher. Basically a giant jug. And I get the water and I pour it on my head. And as I'm pouring it on my head, I breathe out through my mouth like this. You have to do it on your exhale. Otherwise, you'll breathe in and suck up water, which will freak you out and kind of ruin your relationship to water, because it'll make you feel like you can't trust it. You know, you're building a relationship to these elements so that you feel safe amongst them. And so you take that picture, you pour it on your head and you breathe out. And you just keep doing it. And you'll notice that the stress in your head will start to calm down. You'll feel very mentally okay. Not only that, but the thoughts going on up here will start to match, or more of a serene nature. The water element is influencing your thought process in that mode, okay, in the mode of stress. And whereas your stressful thoughts could only see or perceive a problem from a very particular perspective, quite a negative one, which is making your head so stressed out when you're in that stressed, anxious state, usually when you're going through something tough, the water is going to allow the mind to shift to a different frequency so that you can come up with different thoughts. This is the water influencing your energy body, and by default, your consciousness. Now, just by pouring it on there over and over and over again, and then asking a question in your mind, you can come up with better answers. Oh, but it actually isn't that bad, you know? The water element is perfect for this. Perfect. It's by far my favorite element because it gradually changes how your body thinks. It's more permanent. You see, ayahuasca gives you answers pretty quickly, but it doesn't quite stick all the time. It's like a flash of inspiration or a flash of something that's going to help you out in your life, but it's much easier to go back on that new piece of info that has shifted your awareness so much after an ayahuasca experience. You can think yourself backwards. With this, it's much harder because the more you pour water on yourself, the more it's changing you fundamentally on a very deep level, mind, body, and literally spirit. Okay. And so utilizing the water exercises is paramount. If you've brought the book Breaking the Death Habit by Leonard Orr, then you would have already seen some of the methods he uses, which is literally you do breath work before you get into the bath. You then put your foot in the bath, just one. You do another 20 connected breaths. Just notice any difference. Notice anything that's changed. And then you put in another foot, do another 20 connected breaths. You sit down, 20 connected breaths. You lay down, 20 connected breaths. And this will make you very aware of your aura. More importantly, it'll make you very aware of the effects that water has on your aura, clearing wise, and on the mental body, the mind itself, psychologically. Okay. All of this being said, you don't have to have a boiling hot bath. Pick and choose your battles. A boiling hot bath will make it very uncomfortable. It'll bring up a lot of stuff. That's cool. That's cool. But you could also get just as much, if not more, benefits from a cool bath, because really it's based on the amount of attention and time you're spending in either or state, a hot bath or a cool bath. Whatever you put more of your attention to, or more whatever you focus on the most is going to grow, and you're going to yield the most results out of it. So your awareness will grow quite a bit if you're spending more time in a hot bath. Your awareness will grow in regard to clearing if you go into a cool bath. I say that because I'm an advocate of a cool bath. In a cool bath, you start to realize more things when you're pouring water on your body parts. In a hot bath, it's hard to realize things. Everything's coming up and you're just a wreck. So the cool part of the bathing ritual is used for healing mainly. This is why it's good to be in a hot bath and then gradually just keep doing the practices of pouring and deep contemplation and allowing yourself to spiral as the temperature of the water cools down, because you'll get the full benefit of that bath ritual. And then you just top it up with more water. Okay. I got something here also that I'm going to show you and talk about soon. I made this one at my house. It's called a curape. Okay, self-administering. And what you do is you put it in your mouth, and this bit goes up your nose, and you blow. And you can blow stuff into your nasal passage, which makes things a little different. I'll talk about that in a sec. It's when you want to get really intense with all of this. So let me just go through my notes to see if I went through everything already. Okay, here's something in regard to self-actualization. Self-actualization is the key to really altering your consciousness. If you're not self-aware, you're going to have a very hard time. Okay? And so whenever you're going into a state where you're spiraling in an emotional state, it's good to be self-aware as to why you're doing it. All right? Don't get fixated on the why, though. A lot of people are fixated on the why, then they get anxious. It's kind of like, say they have an issue and they know it's from their past, so they're constantly obsessing about going back into their memories to fix something. That makes them like this. And then, what if the key to fixing their past traumas is in the present moment? They wouldn't know that because they're too busy obsessing about fixing that one thing that they know it has to be about in the past, which could be something else. It could be another issue that's bringing up all of this stuff, but they don't know that. They're so invested in going backwards. And so self-actualization, the ability of self-actualization is to change some things when it comes to your verbiage, okay, in regard to your emotional state. And so I call it the I, me, and my principle. All right. If you ever find yourself in a erratic state, and you're finding yourself saying, but I did this and it's mine and this is me and I've always been this way, and you're using these very personal words, then it's most likely because you're holding on to something. More than likely you're holding on to some form of defensiveness, some form of the past, okay? And so you're being defensive. It's like, it's mine, it's me, it's mine. And when you're doing this and you're saying these words, you're literally not looking at everything else because you're so focused on yourself. This is just something that I want to put forth to everyone because this is just good in real life, no matter where you are. If you find yourself using these words, more than likely you're missing something big. That's going into something. What was it going into? Yeah, I just wanted to say that. The I, me, my principle. Just be a little aware of that whenever you're in something, So, here's another big thing. You can't go backwards with all of this. A lot of people, they will try to go back into the state that they were in the day before because it felt so good, I was doing so good. I was really high. I was really happy. I want to be that way forever. But you can't. You can't go backwards ever. It's going to feel like, the reason why they're saying that is because they wake up the next morning after having a good day and they're in a worse state than they were a few days ago. And so perceptually, they'll see themselves as falling back into a state. And so I need to do whatever I did yesterday to get back to normal. Back to normal doesn't exist. There's only better. This is why. First off, there's an illusion taking place. You're not actually going backwards. What's happening is the more work you do on yourself, the more stuff is going to come up, and that stuff is old. And so it's going to feel very familiar, and it's going to feel like you're going back in time, giving you a sense of moving backwards with your personality and with your personal growth. Okay. But everything you clear, once it's cleared, it's cleared. So you can't go backwards, not progress-wise. When stuff comes up and it feels old and you feel like you've moved backwards, really, that's just the next thing for you to clear. So you're moving forward. It's just giving you this illusion of going backwards. Okay. That being said, it's only constant progression. You can't go backwards. You can only progress in regard to getting rid of more and more things, which give you that sense of falling backwards. So if you ever find yourself stressing out, like, oh no, I'm going backwards again, everything's not working, don't worry about it. You're actually doing really good. You're actually doing really, really well. You're supposed to regress with all of this. If you're like me, you'll find yourself going into a store and buying foods that you used to buy when you were like 14, 15, maybe a small child and stuff like that, buying candy. That's okay. That's okay. Another thing with all of this, if you find yourself wanting to eat certain foods that you don't eat anymore, do it anyway. Because the reason why you need to eat these foods is because your subconscious mind is trying to coax out more emotional blockages, more emotional traumas, and more memories, and different versions of self. Okay, you have a different sense of self when you start eating eggs, and you haven't eaten eggs in like 10 years. Okay, it'll bring out an older version of you. With that comes its own slew of problems for you to fix. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you should eat everything in sight because eventually you might feel sick. However, if you've taken a break from these bad foods anyway, bad is really just a perception for the most part, as long as they're not poisoned. I mean, if they're poisoned, then they're bad. But a lot of the foods that people eat nowadays, they're actually not that bad. And so don't worry about the effects so much on your physical body. Just look at it from more of an energetical perspective. Clear the energy body and the emotional body first, and then your physical body follows suit. If you have spent like 10 years, like I've said before earlier, if you've spent like 10 years without eating that bad food already, then your body's going to be really clean and really capable of dealing with it. So it's going to be hard for you to overeat and get sick. Okay, not unless you really go for it. And at that point, just listen to your intuition. Probably just take a little break. Doesn't mean you're going to stop eating entirely. Just take a little break. Which goes to my next point, healing your relationship with food. It's very important. Healing a relationship with food means that you can get to a place with yourself where you're not judging, hating, or preventing yourself from eating whatever you want. If you do any of those things, you're going to mess up your relationship with food, and you're going to start pulling yourself away from things that your body and your emotional states and your subconscious mind want. They want those things for a reason. Within every comfort food, there's a cure to your addiction. It's just a lot of people nowadays are looking in the wrong area. And so you'll figure it out, but only if you let yourself actually enjoy the food. And you do that by enjoying the food in front of a fire once a day. You can eat once a day with no problems as long as you feel fully comforted. Comfort food alongside a warm fire is ultimate pleasure. It's like ultimate comfortability. And so with that, you allow yourself to enjoy the food and just, self-inquiry. Think about why you like it. What do you love about it? What's going on here? What does it do for you? And over time, you'll find yourself just naturally not eating it anymore, whatever it is, and your body will just bounce back and you won't be sick. Naturally, you will find yourself on a healthier diet. You don't need to really control that. All you got to do is let yourself be you. What else we got? Okay, self-actualization. Okay, here's another very, very important note. Make sure to surrender. A lot of emotional healing hinges upon your ability to surrender. If you cannot surrender how you feel, usually to something outside of you, you will have problems for the rest of your life when it comes to your emotions. Okay. A large part of my emotional healing helped when I just realized that I didn't know everything, and I had to be okay with that, because then it allowed me to let go. If I wasn't okay with everything, then it's because I'm holding on to something, and that'll make more sense when you start doing it. But ultimately, if you find yourself in a knot, like an emotional knot, whether it be the knot of the mind, so your mind's going in a specific direction and it won't let something go, just give it up to God. There's one way of doing it: surrendering to a higher power, ultimate intelligence. and just letting it figure it out for you, you'll notice that the knot becomes loose. Getting into the practice of surrendering to anything is really cool too. Okay, because you don't have to know everything, and it's okay. Sometimes it's easier if something else knows it for you. That way, you're not spending a lot of time thinking. Because I was at Soul Quest, an ayahuasca place, and this person had just realized that she was everyone and everything, but she had a bunch of questions. And the questions she was answering or asking was causing her a lot of stress, and mental turmoil. I didn't say anything in the beginning. It hadn't come to me because everyone was talking in a circle. Eventually, I said it though. I said, it's easier if you let something else think on behalf of your questions. Give whatever you want to know, give the question to something else. Let something else answer it for you. Heck, let something else think about it for you. Because you thinking about it is going to cause stress. And really, you're probably going to be wrong 80% of the time. And even if you're right, it doesn't matter. And so, a lot of the time, I think what was the question? She was talking about, dang it, it was something. I remember the way I told her to address her questions was to ask the wind. I think she was talking about the nature of reality. And I said something along the lines of, if these questions are confusing you, take a deep breath. Act as if the breath is alive and just give the question to the wind to figure out. Give it, pass it along, And if it comes back to you, cool. If it doesn't matter. But more often than not, it'll come back to you in some way, shape, or form. The trick is just to surrender to not knowing anything, or to surrender to not trying to figure things out. No, wait a second. The trick is to surrender to trying to figure something out. Try not to think about too much, and let something else do it for you. When you're in this state of surrender, you'll find that life becomes much easier because you realize this will happen, and you'll realize that everything is trying to give you answers. And you really don't have to think. When I was there, I realized that, first off, I was invited there and everything was taken care of for me. So I didn't have to pay anything, to get to my trip there or to stay at the ayahuasca place. Not only that, but, I wanted an idea for a video, but I didn't want to put any energy into thinking. And then people started approaching me with ideas for videos. And so it's like, you don't have to think as much as you think you do. I just went off on a little. It's kind of hard to kind of make sense out of that. To me, it makes complete sense, and I think to some of you, it makes a lot of sense too. I just wanted to make sure that it actually landed properly before moving on. Moving on, I'm going to go through your comments because I did post a post a while ago on Patreon explaining the fact that I was going to go live and that I needed some questions to answer. And so let's go to this. Oh yeah, free course for all patrons. At some point, I'm going to put all of these videos that are on Patreon right now, I'm going to put it into a course. I'm going to then put it over on my website. Okay. That's just for the common people out there who haven't been a member of, I guess, Your Potential on Patreon. In the distant future, I'm going to redo all of these videos from scratch and add extra content in there and then update the course. So let's come up with a password now. So anyone watching this can get these videos if I decide to take Patreon down. You'll be able to access these videos on my website. Come up with a course password. Let's say 4330. Okay, 4330. Whenever this course gets uploaded on my site, which will be the remainder of these videos that you've already seen, that's how you access them. Okay, you use that password and you just go on to my products and then you'll find it there. It's probably going to be called Emotional Healing Feminine Principle or Emotional Healing feminine something because it deals mainly with the emotional body. The other one that I have deals with the mental mind and going into the body. It's very technical, it's very analytical, it's very easy and simple. It gets more and more complex as you go along. But this deals with more of your emotions in a direct manner. It's a little bit more aggressive. So it will be a part two to my last shadow integration and trauma healing course, which also deals with the emotions. This is the part two. Okay. Hey, Desert Hermit, I'm going to answer your question in a quick sec. I'm just going to use the bathroom real fast. And then we're going to go through your questions. Cool. I also want to. I want to try and put across a challenge for you all if you can. You can buy these candles that burn for 4 days straight. Do a 4-day fire ritual. Okay. 4-day fire ritual where somewhere you set up an altar, which is a place of worship where you worship the element fire. I want you to just connect to fire for 4 days whenever you can. You know, I mean, if you got 4 days straight, you can. I mean, if you can pull off a 4-day straight meditation, then sure. But oh, and remind me about this too. I want to show you this soon. Okay, let's go through your questions. I find myself feeling immense shame and guilt from my past transgressions I've repressed. I'm feeling unworthy of wanting to progress for this reason. Okay, cool. Feeling myself, I find myself feeling immense shame and guilt for my past transgressions I've repressed. Okay, shame and guilt, that's perfect. You'll get a lot of that coming up. Here's what you do. You accept the fact that you feel shameful. You accept the fact that you feel guilty, and that in some way, shape, and form, how you're feeling is most likely validated or could be validated by other people. You know, perhaps what you did was shameful. Perhaps you should be guilty. And perhaps a whole bunch of people would probably say the same thing. You have to be completely vulnerable and open to the fact that that very well is the situation. And you do that and you let yourself feel everything you're feeling completely without being in resistance to that truth of a reality that might have been true, might have been at one point. Okay. Even if it wasn't true, just let yourself feel these things anyway, as if they were. You'll find a tremendous amount of release happening when you do that with your emotions. We're not all perfect. We do really stupid things growing up because we don't know the difference between right and wrong before we do those things. Here's the thing though is after doing something that you shouldn't have done, if you instantly regret it, then you're innocent. Because you don't know you've made a mistake until you've made it. And so that stands to reason that you wouldn't have done that thing if you knew it was bad. So you're innocent. Regret just tells me you're innocent. Okay. Guilt, same thing, just tells me you're an innocent person. And shame usually we kind of contract shame. We can contract shame from people, okay, who shame and guilt us because they within themselves have not come to terms with some of the things that they've done. Most likely what they're seeing in you. And so they're going to shame you because really they're shaming themselves because they're also guilty. They're feeling guilty from doing the same things. Okay. And so here's the thing, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you've learned from it and that you've realized that that isn't you because you're feeling guilt, you're feeling regret. It's not you. That's what matters, is that awareness. If you walk away from something that you've done and you take ownership of it and you make it a part of your personality, then there's a problem. I'm this, I'm that, I did that, it was my choices. Oh, I'm such a bad person. No, you're not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be regretting it. If you're a bad person, you want to do it more. Okay. And so, be mindful with how you speak to yourself. At one point during all of this stuff, I noticed that I was talking to myself too harshly, you know, internally. Even noticing my harsh voice was right, it was still too harsh. And so I had to change how I was internally speaking to myself to be more supportive. Hmm. Let's keep it going. What do we got? We've got 4 comments from Peter. Peter, Nano, and Hannah and Angelica. Okay, let's start with Angelica first. Not a question, but the first video you posted has helped me feel much better when I get headaches. And when I feel my energy congested, helps clear things out. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Angelica. I actually did that meditation yesterday too. It was great. Oh, still, I got this right here so I can remember telling you. That is crazy. Hannah Taylor says, "Hi, I want to know how to release the negative emotions related to my family and how to heal from it. Also, how to protect myself from these feelings in the future. Thanks, love and light." Cool, Hannah. Your family won't trigger you anymore because you've already dealt with the issue. Because usually the issue is the issue that you're having with your family. It's not them, it's the issue that you're having in relation to your family. Usually we have these stories. People shouldn't speak to us like that. I should be treated better. Who do they think they are? It's all us having internal conflict with the nature of reality. It's always us. Okay. So when we change things, everything's good. Even when you really think it's them, as you peel the layers back and get real with yourself, it's always something to do with you. Or maybe you're mad at the fact that you're having these thoughts on a very deep level to the point where you're not aware of that fact. And so you're blaming that person for making you feel bad. You're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. Really, you just hate the fact that you feel this way. You're in resistance to how you're feeling. And how you're feeling is a story, as of a result of a story that you're saying in your head, probably about that person, because you're trying to make sense out of that person. They're confusing. Why are they treating me this way? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It's all internalized, internal problems being projected outward as blame. And so, I want to know how to release negative emotions. The fastest way to release a negative emotion is to write them down on a piece of paper. You put it in a glass bowl and you burn it, and you don't take your eyes off of it until the orange glow disappears. When the orange glow disappears, you'll notice that negativity is shifted. It's gone. But it's going to come back. You've just gotten rid of the energy. To elevate the negative emotion, you have to sit in it, see through it. Not like see through it as in try to see how it's good, how it's fine. Don't try to, make it a certain thing that it's not. When I say see through a negative emotion, I mean sit in it and see through it. Like how you're forced to sit on a roller coaster and you have to see it through to the end. So you see through the negative emotion to the end in an environment where you can heal from the emotion. Now, a healing takes place when your perception on the problem changes to a point where you feel more comfortable internally, emotionally. Earlier, I mentioned putting water on your head, and that will give you the foresight, the knowing, the clarity, so that you'll be able to see a problem through in a way where it's no longer a problem. And that's when the healing takes place. Do that with all negative emotions, and you'll be good. And your family won't be able to trigger you anymore. So Peter says, maybe how the pain tends to fade away. How the pain tends to fade away. You mean emotionally? Usually the pain will slowly just subside in the body. You might still feel something going on, some type of remnant of the emotional feeling. That can be capped off by you having a freezing cold shower straight after. They'll wipe it out. Or you can stand outside naked if you have that luxury, or in a towel. The cold wind will wipe out any emotions that could be lingering in the system that aren't anchored by a storyline that's generating the emotion. It's just like residue. Sage works too, but the wind works. Uh, Cold water works the best. Also, how does this link to your shadow trauma course? And if so, the best way to practice both? Okay, Peter. The best way to practice both would be, in my opinion, to do the shadow integration trauma healing course first, because then you'll know what's happening internally. Because the shadow integration trauma healing course allows you to have the utmost clarity on your problems. It's really allowing you to go into the body itself and to actually see things from many different perspectives. I think it's like 132 different perspectives, which is a lot. That's if you get all the way to the end of the course. If you do just the beginning bit of the course before it gets really advanced, then you're going to get 13 perspectives to see your one problem from, your one negative issue. It's very manual. I give you meditation exercises in order to shift into these perceptions. You don't need to use the elements. Okay, elements come easy, but this, because it's all you doing everything, going in and changing everything, gives you a tremendous amount of skill with your internal environment. You're going to need that skill because let's say you do this stuff and you spiral. It's going to help to have a little bit of awareness. It's going to help to know what's going on. It's going to help to know your terrain in order to fix yourself a little faster. Okay, it's not to say that the elements can't fix you by themselves. They can, but it also helps to know what's happening. And so I'd say do the shadow integration trauma healing course first, all of it, and do these videos every now and then, maybe a couple of days a week, do the bath rituals or the fire rituals. Okay. Just to bring up more stuff, especially if you're getting really skilled with the shadow integration trauma healing practices, because then you can afford to bring a lot of stuff up and to analyze and to self actualize and to heal. So that would be the best way to practice both. More mudras, maybe, or are the ones you provide enough? In my opinion, the ones that I provide are enough because they deal with the main issues that people have, which is anger and sadness. Just a little tidbit here: moon gaze at night will bring up a lot of sadness out of your system. Full moon, stare at the moon, surrender to the moonlight, and you'll find yourself getting really sad. If you do the mudras, then it will help a lot too. In the midst of moonlight, it's a frequency thing. It pulls on your emotions. It's really scientific. Sounds magical. And so the ones I mentioned is literally, the one where you're on the floor like this with your head. Also the one where you have your hands on the wall and you put your head on the wall standing. Okay, I say it again, I'm talking a little too fast. Hands on the wall, head against the wall, forehead. You're standing and you let yourself feel whatever comes up. Two of the best ones. Other ones consist of this hand goes down, say this is your knee, down on your knee, on your right knee. And then this hand goes like this. And your knee is here, your left knee. And your arm stays straight. Okay, like that. And you sit like this. It's very calming. Brings you to a very clear sense of self without you having to do that at all. Okay, it's best when you do these meditations to not to try to make yourself any particular type of way. That's your ego changing form in order to please itself through the practice that you're doing. A lot of this is surrender, letting the body and the elements change your state for you. and that's when you learn. So you put your hand on this knee, and you do this, and you put it against this one, and you just let yourself be. Yeah, it's really nice. Another one would be this one I haven't mentioned, I don't think. So you take your thumb, you get your middle finger, and you place it on the knuckle. Okay. Um, Actually, no, that's not right. It's not your middle finger; it's your ring finger. You bring your thumb to your ring finger like this, and you clasp like that. Okay. And what this does is it takes the negative energy and it just keeps it still in the body. If you don't want it to move anywhere. But I'm a moving river. I like to have things move. Another thing I want to talk about, rivers. If you stand near a moving river and you feel that the river is pulling. Hey, Astral Potato, I'll mention. I'll go over your question in a second. If you feel like the river is pulling your emotions, let me say that again. If you feel like there is tension, let me say that again. If you're standing in front of a river and it feels like there's resistance going on, so there's a pull, it's because the the energy in the field of the water flowing down the river is pulling on your emotional knots. Now, emotional knots again are basically parts of your emotional body that are tight because they're holding on to something, some type of emotion. That's going to cause drag on the field of the water. So the water is going to drag and cause resistance. Okay. So you're going to feel yourself being pulled by the stream. You're not in the water, you're just standing by it. So water has this magnetic quality to it. It's very this energy quality to it that can pull through your emotional body. If you've got any blockages, you're going to feel some resistance. And so that's a good way to notice your condition. If you stand there long enough, the knots are going to get pulled out anyway. You can move your body like this, and then from the back, and just let the knots get pulled out. Um, I like to sit and think, okay, where's the knot? I can feel it. I'm like, okay, there's the knot. And I ask the knot a question: What are you? How did you come to be? And then I'll wait for a response. And then some type of trauma, some type of problem will come up. And then I'll let the wind deal with it for me. Hey, wind, how should I look at this problem? And I take a deep breath. When I take a deep breath, I notice how my head feels like it's lighting up. You can do this if you really pay attention. The warm air can make the inside of your nasal cavity feel nice and relaxed. If it's cold, you'll feel it in your brain. You'll feel it in your lungs. Doing a few breaths just like that will help you connect to that nice freshness of air, to the point where whenever you take a breath, you'll naturally just know what to feel because you're used to feeling that fresh feeling anyway through these meditations. And so it'll amplify your response to fresh air in a good way. Ever heard of tactile imaging? I have not. Can you mention what it is in the comments so I can go through it? Okay, let's look at another one. Oh, wow. Peter put a lot of questions. I'm going to pause on the questions for a sec. I'm going to tell you about this Kurpe. Okay. Now, when I was in Soul Quest, my girlfriend told me about Kurpes. Now, I'd done ayahuasca before, and I had done rapé before, which is what this is used for. Rapé is basically a bunch of herbs that are crushed up, and you blow the herbs into your nasal cavity, and it unblocks energy centers in the body. Very powerful stuff. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, I might as well start using rapé with my elemental exercises, you know. Now, in the beginning, when I did rapé, it used to just make me feel really good. This was when I was at Rhythmia. But after some time, it made me feel sick. And I thought that my body was having an adverse reaction to it, like an allergy. But she convinced me to keep doing more rapé. Okay, so when I'm at Soul Quest, I'm like, okay, let's do some rapé. She's got all these different types that I've never heard of before. And she loads it up in a pipe and she blows it into my head. And all of a sudden, I start throwing up. And as I'm throwing up, I'm noticing that I'm throwing up emotions, just like how I throw up stuff on ayahuasca. And I go into this deep emotional journey where everything that I was dealing with that I had yet to completely dissolve throughout these energetical practices came up, and I purged out. And then I knew what to do, because after doing the shadow integration course and all of these emotional exercises, I knew how to process what was happening. And it was basically like me doing all of these exercises, but really fast, because so much came up so quickly. It's like a turbo engine. And so then I thought to myself, okay, let's mix these things together. Let's have a bath and do rapé at the same time. Let's go in a bath, spiral, write all my problems down, burn it, watch my problems disappear, get back in the bath, spiral even more. And then once I feel like I've hit my end and I feel nice and clear and there's no issues going on anymore within my internal condition, let's get some rapé. Let's get some rapé and go a little deeper. And so with these tools, you can really go deep. Rapé alone will get you to a certain point. But if you do these water exercises, one of the things I notice is with the water exercise where you're pouring and pouring, it's pulling away layers of emotional trauma to the point where more and more stuff comes up, and you literally notice that, wait a second, this new stuff that's coming up is from an earlier stage in my life, because you're going backwards through your emotional body. Rapé doesn't take you backwards into your emotional body. Rapé helps you deal with this now moment, whatever's here now. And so if you start doing these earth exercises, these rituals, you can use rapé as a boost to clear out certain things. It's really cool. Specific rapés bring you to your heart too. So they help you see things from an entirely different perspective, much loving perspective. It's kind of like its own element in that way, you know, because the wind does it for you. It gives you something from its own perspective. The fire does, the water does, and the earth does, eating in front of the fire. Rapé does too. And rapé is a mixture of earth. It's different earth elements, you know, mixed with the wind, because you're blowing it into your face. And so you can do self-administered, or you can get it from someone who's qualified. What qualifies you is your energy level. If you're getting someone else giving you rapé, if you're getting someone else to give you rapé, then it's going, their energy is going to transfer to you. And so if their energy isn't clean, or if they have a large amount of energy that you're not ready for, it can make you, it can wipe you out, basically. And some people don't want that. You know, some people don't want that. And so you can get someone who's qualified, who's basically, what qualifies a person is their energy level, their awareness of their own energy level, and their ability to control their own energy level. Or if you just want someone with crazy energy, then fine, find someone with crazy energy, you know? um, or you can make or buy one of these. These are called cure pays. Okay. This is one that I made. It's got an elephant on there. And this is meant to represent the moon, and it's walking downhill. It's walking away from the moon ritual, because it's feeling okay now and it's resting. So it tells a story. And this is basically a bamboo pipe that comes down here, another bamboo pipe that comes down here. I wrapped it up with some stuff. I also made a mixture of elemental dust from multitude of things, and I turned it into a varnish, and I varnished it on the inside. So there's some magic in here, literally, because I used Spanish moss and I burned it up into ash to add to the element, and I made this nice mixture. I painted it so it's black underneath here, then I covered it, because these will give these the power. Isn't just the person who made them, but what they're made out of. And then you got some animal. This is leather. This is leather. This is leather. You'll most likely find these with animals stuff added to it, because it adds to the frequency. You know, and I'm not usually for that, but in this case, it just adds to the frequency of everything. And not only that, but animals, they suffer, and so they got a frequency of suffering, and they can bring it out of you if you've got any type of suffering too. Most of the time, you'll find these made out of wood, but the ones where you can administer to someone else, it's like a long tube, is made out of some type of bone, animal bone. And so, yeah, rapé. I have Shawanawa and Kuntanawa upstairs, and Arcturus, who is a member of Ryan Cropper's Friends, the group, came over the other day. He's going to come over again next week, I think. And he gave me some mint one, which was really good. Okay. So this is really powerful stuff. All of this is really powerful stuff. If you ever find yourself in a bind, I'd actually say take rapé. Now, rapé, again, I say it's a powder because it's so fine, but it's like an ash, and it's inside a bottle. You can buy it. It's called rapé. Now, it's spelt rape. But the E has a little thing on the top, which changes the verbiage to rape. Curpe or curpie is a Kurpie. Okay, you will find loads of these. I think anyone doing these practices should get one of these self-administering. Okay, and the way you do it is there's a little ritual, and so you do this to your head and you set your intention. It looks so cool. My intention usually is to channel more clarity from the elements, and then you hold it to your heart, and then you set your intention. And my heart space is quite pure. It's very clean, and it's basically the intuition. I always thought the intuition was in the gut, but it's not. It's actually in the heart. The gut is something else, and so I call forth more of my intuition. Then what I do is I go like this, and I go up. Some people go shh. There are different versions of it, but it's supposed to hit a tone which moves the energy in your system. Or you can blow. I like to blow every now and then because it's more my style, because I'm more of an elemental person. Then what you do is you move the energy up through your head. You're clearing the pathway so that when you do this, it can really flow through you. If you do all of the meditations that I put on Patreon, you're going to be pretty clear anyway. And so then what you do is you take it, okay? You put the rapé on your hand, the powdered stuff. You bring your curpe towards your heart, and then you pack it. Okay, now you put about a pea size on your hand. The pea to 2 peas. I put 2 peas of rapé on your hand, not too much. Pack the pipe, you blow it, or you can put it on your head. I like to pack the pipe, smell it, so it activates the gates inside me anyway, because it opens up the energy gates. And then I literally feel it, and I keep my back straight, because when the back straight, the energy is flowing. And if you've got a lot of blockages, just from that alone, you feel like throwing up. Blow the residue off your hands if you've got too much on your hands. If you've got way too much, put it back in the thing, because it's quite expensive to buy the rapé. And then you take it. Okay. There's some people, if it's like this, the bigger side is on my right side, then that means that they're going to blow the right side first. Okay, when they connect to their heart. And so after they pack it, they do this, turn it, put it in here. Okay, then they blow. And you can blow as hard as you want or as softly as you want. It's gonna put you on your backside if you put a lot in there. Then you do the whole thing again. To your head, say it's going to do this nostril now, so I turn it this way. And then intention for the clarity of the elements. Heart, open up my heart, bring and live through it easier. And then, okay. And then I usually put the wrap hair on the other hand at this point. And then, when you put the pea size on there, you kind of have to pat it down with the cure pipe, the curpy pipe. So it's nice and flat. We use your finger towards the heart. Okay. Take a deep breath. Put it in the mouth. Then blow as hard as you want. Then what you do is you kind of let it sit as much as you can inside your face. And when you feel like it, spit and blow your nose into a bucket. Try not to put the paper towel that you're blowing your nose into in the bucket. Keep it separate. And just try your best to keep your back straight. Don't go and try to act spiritual. Remember, that's the ego shifting into a state to please itself. Let your body do it for you. Lean back a little bit and let yourself stand straight or sit straight. If someone's near you, have them put their hand on your head or put your hand on your head. Okay, and just let yourself be straight. You'll notice when you're straight, the energy will come in and hug your guts and you'll want to throw up. Okay, so let's go through the questions some more. The effect it has on you besides feeling happy, more whole. That was Peter's question in regard to the body mudras. I kind of went into that a little bit more in this video, which is I think we'll do. The effects that it has is it'll bring up emotions, stubborn emotions, different mudras to bring out different emotions if you're getting in your own way. Does this in turn make you survive on happiness or less on food? Less on food, it does. Survive on happiness, in a way, your body will do much better because you'll be much more happy. Matter of fact, you may even live a very long time. Wink. Will you be able to sleep less from continuous practice? Possibly, because you'll sleep better, which will make you go into a deeper state of sleep, which will make you feel better, recuperate faster, then wake up earlier. The key to life isn't to sleep less to live longer, it's to sleep better. The better you sleep, the longer you'll live because your body's having a better chance to do everything it needs to do. So you'll only be adding to your life. A lot of people think that sleeping more takes away from your life. It does not. It's a worker's myth. Will you be able to sleep less from the same one? How to help others with all this information, if possible, because you said this is for certain people. Yeah, the thing is with life is people will only ask for help if they want it. You can't just put this onto people because they got their own stuff going on. They have their own blockages. It's just being a Taurus. I got in my way my entire life, and I really wouldn't accept help from people. And it served its purpose, I guess. But I could have got a lot of stuff done faster if I just let myself ask for help, or if I just started doing things in a different way. Involved more people. It's just something I had a hard time with. All of this work has helped me get through it quite a bit. But it takes a lot of energy and a lot of patience and a lot of time. Not everyone's like that. Has not everyone even knows where to start with that. And so you can't help everyone because a lot of people don't want your help, and it's just the way it is. I tend to just be me. If people ask for help, I'll give them a little bit of help. But even then, an issue I was struggling with in the beginning was I was giving too much help. And so the reality is you don't need to help that many people. Sometimes they only need a little bit of something and they can help themselves. Which then it kind of ties in with everything, because the key to a long lasting life is to do less and to slow way down. And when you open your eyes up to the reality that everyone can help themselves, and if they need your help, they'll ask you, you'll start to get familiar with what giving actually feels like, because a lot of people are giving too much. When you give adequately, you have enough time to give to yourself, and everything is smooth and everything's nice. You think less with all of this. You have other people and things think for you. It's nice. And so, yeah, I think just be wary of yourself in those situations, how much you want to give, and be mindful of how much someone wants, how much they're willing to take, how much they're willing to accept, and how much they actually need. The emotional process has been messy, says Nano. I've been doing the breath work with myself and with the help of a friend who specializes in breath work and emotional release. I've been finding out little pieces of traumas and releasing them. All of this has led up to releasing the ones that on my sit bones and my glutes. Releasing the ones that's on my sit bones and my glutes. I think you're talking about the traumas on those areas, right? From what it's told me, the major theme is confidence and feeling worthy enough to have the things I want in this lifetime. My question is, how can I build confidence after I release this block? Okay, this is how you do it. When you realize that during the unblocking process, you channeled a bunch of information that made you feel confident. I was talking about it today in the car. With every problem, there's a degree to it. Meaning look at every problem like a circle. And when you fix something, you're fixing a degree of that circle. You get a little piece of the puzzle. At some point, you might have to go back to it because you're still not feeling confident. So you do the practices again, the breath work again, and you'll find yourself accessing another degree of the problem, which will make you more confident once it's complete. And so you keep hammering at the same issue until eventually you get enough insight to the point where you feel completely confident. And this is a process. It doesn't happen all at once. It's probably going to happen from that point onwards throughout the next week or month until you're fully embodying that confident state. Bring it up in the bath whilst you're doing breath work so that the water can ground that new state of confidence in your cells, in your tissue, and you'll be good. Also, Nano says, How can I train my body and mind to break away from food addiction? Again, heal your relationship with food. Allow yourself to be addicted to the food, because in the food is the cure to the addiction. It's the resistance to the food which is causing you the problem. It's making you go back to it over and over and over again because you're not fully comforting or satiating whatever part of you that needs to be healed. If you use the food as a tool to navigate throughout your emotional body, so you're eating the comfort food, seeing what comes up. Whenever I eat the comfort food, I would say to myself, what is this comfort food doing for me? And why do I feel like I don't have it in my life when I'm not eating this food? And then I'd wait for an answer. Something in my past would come up. Heal that something, you'll find yourself going to that food less often. Do it in front of the fire. Don't hate on the food. The food isn't the problem. The food's trying to help you out. Got to be open to the earth element because that's what the food is. How can I train my body and mind to break away from food addiction? I often find myself craving sugar and even vegetables when I'm not hungry. When I do release a small emotional trauma through breath work. Okay, so you find yourself, the key there is small. You're finding yourself going back to it after you're releasing, because the emotional trauma used to use that food in the past in order to suppress your emotions. And so every time you dip into that emotional trauma and release a little bit, a part of you is still going back into the habit of using those things, those sweet things, to temper down the emotion that you've just brought up. So the deeper you go into the emotion, the less likely it is that you will go for those foods again. And when you completely eradicate the emotion, you'll be fine. It'll be a choice. All right, then. So I've been live for an hour and 6 minutes. Thank you, 3 people for watching. This will be live until um, I don't know. On my Patreon, I'm thinking about doing more videos on Patreon. This was just going to be for the energy exercise. It could very well be just for the energy exercise series still. Whenever I have updates, I'll let you guys know. But I do want to tell you that for the past couple of months, I didn't want you to expect too much content from me on this Patreon because of me going through all this stuff, and really, Patreon isn't a great place for me to do these uploads unless I make it a constant thing where I'm constantly kind of like a video diary giving you more info on this series, or unless I use it the way that everyone else uses it. But my mind is slowly changing. I'm slowly feeling like I should start posting more content on Patreon, and so just keep your eyes peeled. I say this because a lot of people are being a Patreon, and it's helping me out a lot. But I do feel like I should be giving more. And I don't want a lot of people to subscribe to Patreon expecting a whole ton of content when really all that's there is this and these videos. That being said, I really appreciate your help. If you want to keep donating, it will always help me out to go more into my mind to help give you guys more content, whether that be on Patreon or on YouTube. But I will look more into doing more posts on Patreon more often because I'm starting to feel like it's time to really start. Sounds like I'm contradicting myself a lot. I'm just trying to tell you where I'm at. In the beginning, I wasn't really set on posting a lot, but now I'm gradually starting to think about it, is what I'm saying here. And so thank you all for being patient, for helping me out the past few months. It's been tough, but I'm all the wiser for it, and I feel like I can help you all out much more. That being said, I guess that's it for today. I'm going to look through the other comments to see if there's something else that I can find. I've covered the free course already. Let's look at these comments. I have 5 comments here. That's what I love about Patreon. I can get to everyone because there's not many people on here. Breath of Ecstasy. Breath of Ecstasy is fun. The models remind me of the OA. Thank you, Ryan. I know, right? This is one of the most beautiful videos I've ever watched. Really, Jackie? Thanks. Exciting news. Thanks, we love you too. Awesome. Next time, what I'm gonna do. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I just had a really good idea for something. But I'm gonna keep my tongue shut until then because okay. That's it. Do you guys have any other questions? You three? Let's make it a little bit more personal. Any questions? I'm open. Anything you want me to go over again that I might have not have said clear enough? I feel like my nasal and everything is clearing up now. I can speak better. I'm grateful for everything you do. Thanks. Thanks, Desert Hermit. Would you mind if I call you by your name? Or should I just call you by Desert Hermit? I want to get to know you a little better. That works. Desert it is. Desert Storm. Is there anything you wanna go into about the practices? Are you guys doing okay? I encourage you when it gets really, really tough, to sit through it because doing good for now. Awesome. Like I said, eventually the panic attacks will disappear. So you can go through it aggressively if you want, but you don't have to if you've been going at it aggressively for a while and you're no longer having like panic attacks. If all that's calmed down, you don't have to. Alrighty then. I'll see you all next time. I think we're gonna do some rapé. I did a water ritual today in the shower. I did breath outside. I did a little tiny bit of earth, not as much as I usually do. I ran out of firewood. Before I just use candles and do some earth rituals. I did an earth ritual with Arcturus. He came to my house and I showed him how to breathe in front of the fire, which was cool. He really liked that. Yeah. Something to do. Speak to you all next time. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope there was no problems and you heard everything clearly. Peace.